Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy is one of the greatest novels ever written, a powerful and emotional story about love, marriage, betrayal, society, faith, and the search for meaning in life. Set in 19th century Russia, the novel explores the lives of aristocratic families whose outward elegance hides deep emotional struggles. The famous opening line sets the tone for the entire book. All happy families are alike. Each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. With this line, Tolstoy introduces a world where family life, relationships, and moral choices shape the destiny of every character. The novel mainly follows two parallel stories: the tragic love affair of Anna Karenina and Count Vronsky, and the spiritual and domestic journey of Konstantin Levin and Kitty Sherbatskaya. Through these contrasting stories, Tolstoy examines passion versus responsibility, illusion versus reality, and despair versus faith. The novel begins with trouble in the household of Prince Stepan Arkadyevich Oblonsky, commonly called Stiva. He is a cheerful but irresponsible man who works in government service and enjoys social life. His wife, Daria Alexandrovna, Dolly, discovers that he has been unfaithful to her with their children's governess. Dolly is heartbroken and angry, and the household falls into chaos. Stiva feels guilty, but is more upset about the discomfort in his life than about his betrayal. To help resolve the situation, Stiva's sister, Anna Karenina, travels from St. Petersburg to Moscow. Anna is married to Alexei Alexandrovich Karenin, a high-ranking government official, and she has a young son named Seryoza. When Anna arrives, she is graceful, intelligent, and charming. She easily persuades Dolly to forgive Stiva for the sake of the children, and peace is temporarily restored. Anna's ability to understand emotions and offer sympathy makes her admired by everyone around her. While in Moscow, Anna meets Count Alexei Vronsky, a handsome and wealthy cavalry officer. Vronsky had previously been courting Kitty Sherbatskaya, Dolly's younger sister, who is young, beautiful, and full of romantic dreams. Kitty hopes Vronsky will propose to her, but when Anna arrives, Vronsky becomes immediately fascinated by her. At a grand ball, Anna and Vronsky dance together, and their attraction becomes clear to everyone. Kitty watches painfully as Vronsky ignores her and gives all his attention to Anna. Kitty's dreams of love collapse, and she becomes deeply depressed. Meanwhile, Anna senses the danger of her growing feelings and decides to return to St. Petersburg to avoid temptation. However, Vronsky follows her, and their connection becomes stronger. Back in St. Petersburg, Anna resumes her life with Karenin. Karenin is a cold, logical, and emotionally distant man. He cares deeply about his public reputation and social standing, but he does not understand Anna's emotional needs. Their marriage lacks warmth and intimacy. When Vronsky begins visiting Anna openly, society starts to gossip. Karenin initially pretends not to notice, but he eventually warns Anna to behave properly and protect his honor. Anna struggles internally. She feels guilty about betraying her husband and neglecting her son, but she also feels alive and passionate in Vronsky's presence. Her love for Vronsky grows stronger, and she can no longer hide her emotions. At the same time, the novel develops the story of Konstantin Levin, a landowner and friend of Stiva. Levin is thoughtful, serious, and deeply connected to the Russian countryside. He is in love with Kitty and proposes to her early in the novel, but she rejects him because she hopes to marry Vronsky. After Kitty's humiliation at the ball, she becomes ill and travels abroad to recover. Levin returns to his estate, where he manages his land and works closely with the peasants. Through Levin, Tolstoy explores questions about agriculture, social reform, and the meaning of life. Levin feels disconnected from the fashionable society of Moscow and St. Petersburg. He searches for truth, honesty, and spiritual fulfillment. Anna's relationship with Vronsky soon becomes an open scandal. She confesses her love to him and begins an affair. When Karenin discovers the truth, he is deeply hurt but more concerned about public opinion than about emotional pain. He asks Anna to maintain appearances and avoid disgrace. Anna becomes pregnant with Vronsky's child, which makes the situation even more serious. At a horse race, Vronsky falls from his horse, and Anna's public reaction reveals her feelings for him. Karenin realizes that their relationship cannot continue as before. Eventually, Anna admits everything and declares that she cannot live without Vronsky. As Anna's pregnancy progresses, she becomes increasingly isolated from society. High society women avoid her, and invitations stop coming. Karenin refuses to grant her a divorce because divorce would damage his reputation and require public humiliation. Anna gives birth to a daughter, but nearly dies during childbirth. In her fever, she begs forgiveness from Karenin and Vronsky. Karenin, moved by Christian compassion, forgives both of them and even cares for the newborn baby. Vronsky feels ashamed and attempts suicide but survives. For a brief moment, it seems that forgiveness and reconciliation are possible. However, Anna recovers and the old tensions return. She cannot bear living with Karenin, and she leaves her husband to live openly with Vronsky. This decision means she must leave her beloved son, Seryoza, behind because Karenin refuses to let her take him. Anna suffers deeply from separation from her child. Society completely rejects her, while Vronsky continues to move freely in social circles. The double standard becomes clear. A man's affair is forgiven, but a woman's is condemned. Anna becomes increasingly sensitive to gossip and judgment. She feels trapped between love and social disgrace. Meanwhile, Kitty returns to Russia healthier and more mature. She meets Levin again, and this time she sees his sincerity and depth. They confess their past mistakes and fall in love honestly. Levin and Kitty marry and move to the countryside. Their marriage is not perfect. They experience misunderstandings and arguments, but they learn to communicate and support each other. Kitty proves herself strong and compassionate, especially when she cares for Levin's dying brother, Nikolai. Through their relationship, Tolstoy presents a different model of love, one based on patience, forgiveness, and shared responsibility rather than intense passion. In contrast, Anna and Vronsky's relationship begins to deteriorate. At first, they travel in Europe and try to live happily, but Anna feels restless and insecure. She worries constantly that Vronsky will grow tired of her and return to society. She becomes jealous and suspicious, even when Vronsky gives her no clear reason. Vronsky, once passionate and devoted, begins to feel trapped by Anna's emotional demands. He sacrifices his military career for her, but he gradually feels bored and frustrated. Their love, once exciting and rebellious, turns into anxiety and resentment. Anna's mental state worsens as she becomes increasingly isolated. She misses her son terribly and feels that she has lost everything: her position, her dignity, and her inner peace. She turns to morphine to calm her nerves. Her thoughts become dark and obsessive. She imagines Vronsky betraying her and believes that everyone is against her. Communication between them breaks down. Instead of trust, their relationship becomes filled with fear and pride. The turning point comes when Anna, overwhelmed by despair and jealousy, quarrels with Vronsky and feels completely alone. She convinces herself that he no longer loves her and that life has no meaning. In a state of emotional turmoil, she goes to a railway station. The train, which earlier symbolized fate and danger when Anna first met Vronsky, now becomes the instrument of her tragic end. In a moment of hopelessness, Anna throws herself under the train and dies. Her death is shocking and tragic, a powerful symbol of how passion, isolation, and social pressure can destroy a human soul. After Anna's death, Vronsky is devastated. He feels guilt and emptiness. Unable to find peace, he volunteers to fight in a war, seeking escape and perhaps punishment. Karenin takes responsibility for Anna's daughter, showing a quiet dignity and moral strength. Society quickly moves on, gossip fading as new scandals appear. Anna's life, once so vibrant, becomes a memory. In contrast to Anna's tragic ending, Levin's story moves towards spiritual awakening. Levin struggles with doubts about faith and the purpose of existence. Even after marrying Kitty and becoming a father, he feels moments of despair and confusion. He fears death and questions whether life has any meaning. One day, while talking to a peasant, Levin realizes that true meaning comes not from intellectual arguments, but from living with goodness, love, and faith. He understands that simple acts of kindness and responsibility give life value. Though he still has doubts, he finds peace in accepting faith and moral duty. The novel ends not with dramatic excitement, but with quiet hope. Through the parallel stories of Anna and Levin, Tolstoy explores different paths of life. Anna follows passion and rejects social rules, but she becomes isolated and destroyed. Levin seeks truth through family, work, and faith, and he finds inner stability. Tolstoy does not present simple judgments. Anna is not evil. She is human, sensitive, and longing for real love. Karenin is not purely cruel. He struggles with pride and forgiveness. Vronsky is not entirely selfish. He sacrifices much, but lacks emotional depth. Each character is complex and realistic. The novel also provides a detailed picture of Russian society, its politics, agriculture, urban life, and class divisions. Tolstoy describes lavish balls, elegant dresses, and glittering salons, but he also shows the hard labor of peasants in the fields. He contrasts artificial city life with the honest simplicity of the countryside. Marriage is a central theme. Through Stiva and Dolly, we see a marriage damaged by infidelity, but held together by children and habit. Through Anna and Karenin, we see a marriage without emotional connection. Through Levin and Kitty, we see a marriage that grows through effort and sincerity. Another important theme is the role of women in society. Anna's tragedy is partly caused by social hypocrisy. Men like Stiva can betray their wives and remain respected, but a woman who follows her heart is rejected. Anna's desire for love and independence clashes with strict moral codes. Her rebellion is both brave and destructive. Tolstoy shows sympathy for her suffering while also revealing the consequences of her choices. The symbol of the train appears several times in the novel, representing fate, progress, and destruction. When Anna first meets Vronsky at a train station, a railway worker is accidentally killed, foreshadowing Anna's own death. The train connects cities and represents modern life, but it also brings danger. It becomes the final image of Anna's despair. In conclusion, Anna Karenina is not just a love story, but a deep exploration of human emotions and moral struggles. Tolstoy examines how individuals balance desire and duty, freedom and responsibility, society and personal happiness. Anna's passionate heart cannot survive in a rigid world, while Levin's patient search leads him to quiet faith. The novel reminds readers that happiness requires honesty, forgiveness, and inner strength. Even today, Anna's story feels real and powerful because it speaks to universal human experiences: love, jealousy, hope, guilt, and the longing to find meaning in life. Through rich characters and detailed storytelling, Tolstoy created a timeless masterpiece that continues to move readers across generations.